Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys board gaming podcast. I'm your host, Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're coming to you with a Adrian talks for a little bit, and then Jeff and Zach recap Gencon episode.
Let's call it the Gencon Spectacular minus Adrian.
That feels dismissive of my contributions to this episode.
Were you at Gencon?
I was not.
So we will have a Spectacular of Gencon minus you.
That's fair.
We were also minus West this year. So
I like without Adrian. The minus feels hurtful.
You chose to not stay at our awesome hotel that we'll get to.
I cannot wait to
I was
hear
like,
about
is spectacular one of those words that can also mean real bad? But
Like
it's just
awesome?
Yes, absolutely. Spectacularly bad.
Yeah.
that. Well, anyway.
Like, no, it's like he was a great man. Evil, yes, but great. Beautiful in a dramatic and eye-catching way. That's not how I would describe it.
That's not how I would describe our hotel this year.
Dramatic and eye-catching, maybe, but not
All
evil.
right. Well, all of that is upcoming.
I hope that's ketchup.
In the meantime,
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we're going to start with me recapping what I've been playing because it's been 2 weeks since we recorded. We skipped the week before they left because a lot was going on. Jeff was very busy with work and
My
packing
boss was
and flying
out in the hospital. My other boss was on
Yeah.
vacation. I was running the whole fucking department for over a week, and I was just like, it ain't fucking happening.
Yeah. So it has been 2 weeks for me. Going back to let's see here. Where were we at the end of last month for game night? I don't remember. I should have looked it up.
Was that Odell? No.
It might have been.
Yeah.
Odell.
Odell.
Okay. Oh, man. No, I feel like I talked about Odell on the podcast.
We haven't talked about King's Dilemma, so.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I get to tell the story of the guy who smuggled in a beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And
All
banter,
right.
though.
It was in the middle of us playing a game, though. So.
You know what? You have to finish all your content anyways before we start talking, so you may as well.
Well, no, here's what you do is you start your thing, and then in the middle of the story, you smuggle in that story of
that's
smuggling
exactly
a
what I'm
beer.
gonna do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, so 2 weeks ago we were at Odell. They are our new fourth Wednesday weekly rotational location, so we'll be at Odell every month.
But also 4 years they've been there, I think.
They've been there for a little while. Yep.
Yeah.
It is their Rhino 5 points.
5 point. They call their title is 5 points.
Yeah, it's close.
Yeah.
Great location. They've got 3 different patios, 2 levels of interior table space, lots of big tables, very friendly for gaming. The guy who's kind of their tap room event manager guy who set it up is super friendly, super nice. I don't remember his name right now, if that's why you're looking at me that way, Jeff.
Is it Ronnie?
No, definitely not Ronnie. Anyway, super nice. He set us up, hooked us up. This is the only venue we go to right now where we still get discounts. I think even Strange stopped giving us all the friends and family discount. I don't think I've gotten it in a while.
Do they do it if you have the
Mug Club? They
Yeah.
might not.
That might be
the problem.
Yeah. What fools we are to support them.
Dude, it's Strange is very expensive.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, so they give us $1 off beers, which is great. The 2 bartenders, there's 1 regular bartender, and then it's been a different second bartender each time. But the main bartender who's been there, she's awesome. Apparently her significant other is super into Magic. She's just like, does anybody play Magic? And I was like, well, we used to do Magic and Mimosas. She's like, oh my God, you guys got to start that again. I was like, well, maybe I can talk somebody into doing that because I don't have the spoons to start another regular event. But
Was that monthly at the Irish Snug?
It was monthly at the Irish Snug for a while, and it moved monthly to whatever that used to be, kind of off of Washington and where it turns into if you're coming on. This is going to suck for listeners who aren't from Denver, but maybe you guys will be able to figure out what I'm talking about. If you're taking 70 east and you come into I-25 and you take the I-25 exit and then you take the Washington exit, and then you turn right on Washington, you go past Butcher's Block, and eventually you come to kind of that like pseudo T, and if you turn right, that takes you like right down to Epic and all of that. And there's like Black Shirt right there.
I know what you're
right
talking
at
about.
that T.
I don't
there
remember
was,
what it's called.
There was
but that place is gone now. So
that place is gone, and now it's something else.
Rudy's, as we're gonna call it, Rudy's.
Yeah, sure. But it used to be there for a while.
Well, it's now the Rhino Beer.
Yes, it is now the Rhino Beer Garden, I believe.
Yeah.
I think it was the Rhino Beer Garden before.
It wasn't.
And then no?
No, it was something else.
It was definitely something else when they were doing Magic and Mimosas
Yes.
there.
Okay.
That's all I know.
Okay.
And then I think it was sometime around the time
I think it had also changed hands again after it turned into the Rhino
could
Beer Garden.
very well
so.
have changed hands multiple times. But that was being ran kind of by Heather, and then around the time her and Matt got married and decided to have children and all that life shit. He was really buying a house in fucking Parker, basically.
Yeah.
That doomed Magic and Mimosas. And now Irish Snug is gone, and all those old staples of Denver from 10 years ago, 5 to 10 years ago.
Places you could go on a weekend and have an event.
Yes, have become fewer and far between.
I think that's one of the first times I actually saw Formula One was at a Irish Snug, because it was just on TV at one morning.
Because they used to
we
do
were
that
there.
a lot. Because
it was just all sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Odell
is great. I don't remember everything I played there because I do think I played a couple games. The main thing that I remember playing that is seared into my brain was a 4-player game of Scoville, the pepper game.
Could have been 5. But
Could have been 5.
Was not.
But was not. So Zach was waiting for King's Dilemma, so I had offered to let him play, and we were gonna play a 3-player game. And then somebody showed up who's clearly new, and it was like, I guess I'll be a good host. Would you like to join? Zach was still kind of down for a 4-player.
My job, except when I have to play King's Dilemma.
With him being able to like potentially step away to go play King's Dilemma towards the end of the game. So he's like, yeah, kind of on board. Then another clearly new person showed up. So same thing. It's like, all right, I'll be a good host. And then Zach said, I'm not going to play a 5-player game. I will just step out now and go do something different. So Megan and I taught 2 new players. I do not remember either of their names, how to play Scoville.
Good.
Yeah. Classic Adrian host move there.
Fuck them.
Fuck them. Haven't seen either one of them ever again. So maybe they'll never show up.
Well, I guess you've been here for game nights,
Yeah,
but
it's only been one other game night.
Yeah.
And in very different places.
Well, 2 technically with Cohesion. So.
Oh yeah, I I was supposed to have MHGG and then I didn't, and I don't remember what I did. Anyway, not important.
We'll get there.
Stop distracting me. So Scoville was okay. The one new player who was very young, I'm going to call him the Kid. The Kid had some very, very major AP constantly, but it wasn't even so much like it wasn't like AP where he was like trying to decide what to do. A few times it was where he was like, I don't know what to do.
This is the one where you like flick the discs?
No, this one you're sticking little peppers into. You might be thinking of Saffronito.
I'm thinking of Saffronito, absolutely.
Yeah, no. So in Scoville, you're putting little peppers on the board, and they're different colors, and then you have a little like Punnett square chart of like if you pass between 2 peppers, what you look up those colors, and then it tells you what color of pepper you're able to harvest because you're like cross-pollinating all these peppers. And they get bigger and better and hotter and spicier, and you're making chilies on the side, and you're selling them at the market on the side, a bunch of stuff like that. Really great game. Love Scoville. Most of the kids' long-term taking issues was that he was just chatting, and we'd be like, hey, it's your turn, right? And he'd be like, oh, yeah, I know. Anyway, back to this story. And it was like, no, take your turn, then tell your story.
Yes.
Or take your turn while telling your story. But take your turn. Either, I don't care how you do it as long as it is taking your turn. You can tell the story.
As long as a turn has been taken, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like at one point, I went to go get our pizzas from the food truck and came back, and it was still his turn. Blue Pan.
Blue Pan. Yes.
The owner of Blue Pan, by the way, says he likes the food truck better than the restaurant.
Yeah.
Weird.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you hear about this?
From him.
He works at the food truck.
Oh, he's at the food truck.
Yeah.
Okay.
He said it's a lot easier.
Could have been a marketing ploy.
It could have been, but I mean, easier to control, that sort of shit.
Yeah.
Smaller, so.
Probably not as busy as the restaurant, the successful
and
restaurant.
And he could mean that he prefers working the food truck more than working the restaurant. I took it as he prefers the pizza from the
That's
food
what Paul
truck.
and I did too, yeah. I mean, you had it and you're like, I mean, it tastes real good.
Oh, it's
so
It was.
so good.
I ate Zach's.
yeah.
Half Zach's.
Yeah. I ate a whole one the first time we went to Odell, and that is not a smart plan.
No, I knew at the second I started, and I was like, this was a mistake. I should have split it with someone. And then Jeff came down and was like, Jeff, you want a piece? He's like, sure. And then
Absolutely.
I was like,
Do you want two?
you want another piece?
So I barely ate today.
Yeah.
Yes, I would like another
He was like,
piece.
I don't know. And I'm like, Jeff, I am offering it to you. And he was like, okay.
Anyways, yeah. So taking very long turns. And he was an interesting individual. I'll say that. You know, he was clearly one of game night invites nerds, and nerds are sometimes interesting people when it comes to their personalities and who they are, and that's fine. And I'm not throwing any judgment there. He was just an interesting person to play a game with. He bought a beer, and he had the beer, and he drank the beer. And then when he had an empty glass, he got up and he went over to his backpack in the corner and came back with a Four Noses 16-ounce pint. And he had been drinking a big, tall glass of like a lager or something. And then he poured into it the blackest, darkest stout imaginable. And
Just pouring your own beers at the brewery, huh?
And then he left the can sitting. He's sitting on the corner of the
He
table.
left the can?
He left the can sitting right there. And so the bartender, who is amazing, she is
it
so
Madeline,
nice.
Maggie,
Maggie,
yeah.
I think. She comes walking by, and it's funny. Like she does the walking, and then like kind of rock step back. Like, what's this?
What the fuck did I just see?
And she reaches over and she grabs the can and turns it so the label's facing her, and she goes, "You can't do that."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know." And it's like, this is your first time going to a brewery
Well, clearly
of all time.
you have bought a beer from breweries, but you have,
right?
yeah. Like,
And so she's like, "Well, I'm taking this," and she takes the can that clearly had like probably 4 ounces in the bottom of it.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
like, "I'm taking this." She's like, "You need to finish that now." And so then he just chugs it and he sets it down, and like she's walked away with the can. And he goes, "That was a 16% stout." It's like, yeah,
you probably shouldn't have done that, dude.
Yep.
you're fucked, buddy. So
There's a lot of liquor licensing rules that does not allow you to do those kind
and
of
he
things.
started to get like offended, like, "Oh, how dare they?" And I was like, like, one, I run this shit and I want to keep a good relationship with these people because they're awesome. Two,
Yep.
she could literally get fired because of that behavior.
Uh-huh.
And they could lose their liquor license. Like, all of that is...
If the wrong person showed up the wrong time, they would be shut down and could be shut down for weeks
and that,
due to liquor license violations.
yeah, you're lucky she did not just throw you out.
Correct.
Like, you do not get a
Yes.
complaint about this. And then later I went by and I was like, "Hey, thank you for being so fucking cool about that." And she's like, "Well, you guys are really cool.
Yeah.
Just don't let him do that again."
Yeah. It's like he was new.
And it was
We'd
one of
never
those
seen
things
him
like
before.
I feel like Megan and I were both looking at him like with this like dumbfounded look as Maggie walked up and was like, "You can't."
If I would have
that."
seen
I
him
didn't know
taking
I
out
couldn't
another
do
beer, I
that.
would have been like, "Do not."
Yeah.
Oh, I would not have let him take out another one.
No, you do not do that.
Yeah. So, the game he ended up winning the fucking
That's
the
nice.
fucking
That's
dude.
good though.
What?
I just imagining him just being like, "Oh, this 16-ounce one should be fine, though, right?"
You know, if you bought it here, it
Yeah.
would, but no, it's not.
Even then, sometimes it's like you can't. They won't let you do that.
Well, because you're not supposed to serve yourself. So
Yeah.
opening a can and pouring it in your glass is serving yourself.
Yeah.
Because it violates like safe serving rules about like monitoring alcohol consumption.
Tips training is the Colorado term.
Okay. It was serve safe in Indiana when I was a bartender.
It's just the training that all of the taproom staff has to go through to be able to do those things.
So yeah.
TIL.
Yeah, so he ended up winning, fucking little shit that he was. I got last by a not insubstantial margin, probably because I was too focused on like this dude needing to take his fucking turns and not drink Four Noses beer in Odell's tap room.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're looking at, Zach.
The fact that it's already been 14 minutes.
Oh, yeah, that sounds.
Well,
about
it's been
right.
7 minutes of talking about Scoville, so.
Yeah.
So anyway, Scoville's fine. That was the only thing I really remember from that game night. So,
I would just say for us, real quick, we played King's Dilemma.
Yes.
the
We
first
did.
time in a while. I got second place, tied for second place, which is by far the best I've ever done in that game.
okay.
But we don't know what's good. Like, It's kind of one of those things that's like we don't know what's winning, what's
fucking knows?
losing.
Here's the thing, though,
Who
is
can
by
say?
any metric, there's at least 2 people ahead of me on anything, any particular thing, and there are multiple people that are just more.
But you know what? When we find out how you win or lose that game, you can kind of swing anyway at this point.
No,
True.
no.
Well, I tried. I'm
You
sorry.
Yeah, it was a valiant.
I'm not gonna let you. I'm not gonna. No, just let me drown in my hole.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
This is a full-on.
Speaking
pity
of
party.
drowning, it sure
You
did
need to-
rain this
you need
last
to
week.
It did.
Yeah.
Support the pity party.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about from that game night
No.
since you both were there?
I brought the quill. The quill came out. We
Finally.
used the quill.
I missed it. I was too
Yeah. I mean,
focused on that fucking
It's a
kid.
standard ballpoint pen with like a feather with a printed like King's Dilemma on the feather.
Okay.
And then I also had like a giant fold-out map that wasn't very useful,
Yeah.
but it is much more detailed and huger than the one that it comes with.
Yeah.
Because the one it comes with is like a 8x11, if that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
We didn't have anything as notoriously bad happen. Like we didn't accidentally elect. Like
It did not seem like any major story concerns happened during the
Wasn't
game.
there something in this one where it was like a nearly unanimous no?
what it was is that Ryan, like we were voting for something, and then Ryan said some shit, and we were all just like, actually, I don't think we want to do this anymore.
We had a lot of technology things that came up that
Mhm.
were like someone invented the telescope. Well, not the telescope, but like the ye olde pirate spyglass kind of
Sure.
thing. Someone made one of those, and then they just stared at the sun for a while and like burned out their eye.
Yeah.
And we're like, this is too dangerous for the common folk to use.
Yeah. Or it was like scientists have discovered that the sun is like that we're not the center. No, that there's another planet, but like
No, there was another star in a constellation that is core to the religious beliefs
Yeah.
of our nation. And if they found out that there was a 10th star to the clearly only ever 9-star mother constellation, the 10th star was just a boogeyman story you used to frighten children, that it would cause chaos.
Yeah.
And so we had to vote if we wanted to like hide this from. We wanted to like conceal the technology, or
It's like medieval time stuff, right?
it's like Galileo level, like
Yeah.
discovery,
Yeah. Well, like
astronomy,
one guy
early astronomy.
created like explosions, and then he was just like, "Hey,
You
is
mean-
the sun made out of that? Maybe it's not made out of
It's not the heart of the mother
Yeah.
or whatever that's giving us warmth. It's just
this exploding thing just all the time.
What's it called? Obsidian dust,
Something like that." Yeah.
black powder.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We basically created black powder, called it obsidian dust, and the guy was like, "The sun is just made of obsidian dust that's constantly exploding, and that's why."
It was a lot of us tempering down, and also like us
Gotta-
restricting access on certain things.
A lot
especially.
of bop bop bop
Ba, ba, ba,
Ba, ba,
ba, ba, ba,
ba, ba, ba.
no, no, no.
bop bop. A lot of also like a lot of bub bub on like religious extremism that was
Yeah.
happening as well. So yeah.
I like how you're swatting down like the
So the-
renaissance of like science and technology, but also being like, but also no religious
Yeah,
extremism.
yeah.
You know, if Disco Elysium taught me anything, moderation is the slowest form of
Progress.
progress. That's where I went with my detective story, and it was like, you're a moderate. You want everything to go to glacial pace, so nothing happens.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, well then moving along to what I played, I'll wrap it up pretty
Yeah.
quick here.
Yeah.
So we did DBC Arvada on the first Wednesday. They're now alternating with D-Bolt, so a little bit of a change to the schedule there.
After Cohesion.
Yeah, they were fucking packed. Stupid busy. Frustratingly so for me. I ended up playing, I taught Cryptid to Andy and Brenna. Cryptid's great. I like Cryptid. And then we played a couple games of no thanks, and that was it. And then I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. Wasn't really feeling it, so took off.
How long is that every other week gonna last? Or every other month? Or is that gonna, I mean, it's,
I don't know. We'll see.
okay.
They're
Did you go
really
to-
by the time we go there again, it'll be closer to the fall when like it's more tolerable to sit outside and the sun's not blasting you in the eyes when you're sitting inside.
And
so
not like, they do have a nice mister system there, so you don't want to be sitting outside with a bunch of games with the misters.
depending on what kind of games you're playing.
Yeah.
especially when it's hot.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm trying to decide what to do with them. They also seem to, they seem to get a lot of people who just like decide to host events there without telling them. Like there was another like business group type of people that all were like, hey, let's go to happy hour at DBC. And so there was just a bunch of like business mingling with businessmen in their business suits.
Business time.
And it was
Different kind of business time.
It was not ideal. And that seems to happen a lot because sometimes I'll email, be like, hey, like if you're gonna have another big event like that, let us know and we can like bounce somewhere else, and they're like, oh yeah, if we knew, we would tell you, but we did not know. So it's like, okay, well, so I don't know. Then outside of game night, I did play some more games. Megan and I played a 2-player game of Spirit Island. We actually played 2 games, but we played them in one sitting back to back. The first game was ridiculously short because we got absolutely raffle stomped by level 3 France. We switched up what spirits we were playing, tried it again. We also flipped from the thematic board to the abstract board, which I think was really the key part of our defeat, because there's more spaces and the layout of them makes certain things worse, especially someone like France who's notorious for spreading buildings. So
On the thematic board versus the regular?
On the thematic board.
Yeah.
Like the thematic boards are just worse for that kind of thing. Like I like them for a lot of other things, but when you're trying to play higher level
You can't do them.
enemies, I don't think you can really do them. So we ended up we won. There was one turn where we were like at the end of our fast phase, it was like, well, shit, we didn't do enough. They're going to blight those 2 areas. It's going to cascade out of that one area. So we're going to have to place 3 blight. There's only 2 on the card. And once the card is empty, you lose. So once they place 2, we're fucked. And then we drew an event card that was like clear blight from 2 areas. So 2 went back on the card. And then one of our fear effects was they don't ravage in these 2 lands. And then the Dahan protect in a different land. It was we ended up taking no blight that turn. It was
Nice.
Holy shit, saved by the random. So, Paul, you'll be glad to hear I am a full-on convert to the event deck after it saved that game for us.
It sounds like an asterisk to me.
No,
Win. Is
no.
randomness letting you... that doesn't seem
It's
very...
part of the game.
No.
We played by the rules.
Randomness is a part of a lot of games.
It is. We left it set up. It's still set up out there on the dining room table.
I noticed.
We're going to try and play more regularly. We haven't decided yet if we want to try France 4 next, and then 5, and then 6. If we want to go that
6
way.
technically not via the rule. It's a house rule for 6.
Something like that,
Yeah.
I think. Or if we want to move and try a different, beat them all at 3, then beat them all at 4, just to try and learn different strategy and get better at the game. I don't know. So we haven't decided yet, but we might do that.
There's no way to know.
And then another outside of game night, I had some friends come over and I played for the first time Viticulture.
Oh
I have managed to
my
not
God.
play Viticulture.
The
I
game
know.
that Vinos replaced
With-
that you had never played before.
Yep. And so now
Of legend.
and now I can definitively say, having played both, that I was correct.
Okay.
It was fine. I would play it again. It's exactly what I expected, what I'd always heard.
Did you-
Very card driven. If you get shitty
Base?
fucked cards.
Or Essential Edition. But
I think it was Essential Edition.
no Tuscany?
I don't think Tuscany.
Okay. What about World? That very new expansion that just came
Definitely
out.
wasn't.
Okay.
They
Definitely no
released
World.
a crate of Viticulture. It was like a wood crate.
Looks like a wine
version.
crate, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
think it was released at Gen Con.
I enjoyed it. It's definitely a good portion of the enjoyment came from the 2 people I was playing with. They're people I really like playing games with who don't take games very seriously. So the fact that I was getting raffle stomped, I was able to it didn't feel like they never felt like they were rubbing it in that I was getting fucking raffle stomped. So I never got bitter and jaded and angry about it. Also,
You said they're your friends?
I know, weird.
That doesn't
right?
seem right.
I don't
No.
think those are any friends I want to have.
So I would play it again. It was fine, but it was nothing super exciting. And it was definitely, it felt much more.
Well, what other game could you try and get stars for the win? What other game could
You
that
don't get
be?
stars in Viticulture.
Really? I
It's
could have
not
sworn
stars.
Could have sworn that out.
I don't
What
think.
Stonemaier game does not have stars?
Yeah, I know, right? There was certainly no pool of stars that you were taking. It might have been that you were on a star track, where it tracked your stars. I don't remember what the actual scoring track looked like. I'm betting it was stars now that I think about it. I don't know. I didn't pay enough attention. It wasn't the wooden star pieces that so many of his other games are.
I'll investigate.
Okay. So that's really all I played. It was nice. It was fun. Oh, I also played Sushi Go for the first time, which was also fine. It's
Really, for the first time?
I'd
That's
never
surprising.
played Sushi Go,
Sushi Go Party
which is what I had actually played. I played Sushi Go Party
because there's variability in there.
Yeah, it was fine. It was
Drafting with changes.
Yeah, it was decently fun, like trying to guess what people were gonna do, and then like when you'd both play, like the one that cancels it if anybody else plays it, it's like I also did not win that. Have not won anything again in a while. It's been a dry spell. But aside from Cryptid, I did Raffle Stomp at Cryptid at DBC Arvada.
It helps that you've played it
A lot. And they had not. So
Yeah.
was it a fair fight? Yeah, that's about it for
and
me and what I've played.
And you did not go to Cohesion's game night?
I did not make it. I wanted to go to Cohesion's, but I did not make it this month. I am going to try very hard to make it next month. I actually need to look and see if I have that off. Because my new schedule starts August 22nd, and it's going to suck.
Your weird custody divorcee schedule.
It makes sense on a calendar. I finally figured, because Megan and I were like, what are they even thinking? And then I looked at it, it's like, oh, they were thinking it looks nice on a calendar. Because the days make like diagonal stripes across the calendar. That's the only thing I can come up with. Still sucks. If I'm lucky, I won't have to do nights until like fucking October, though, which would be great.
Great.
Because that's going to suck even worse. God, I'm gonna have to try hard not to quit when I go to nights.
Oh, she's gone from suck to blow. There was a lot of Spaceballs the Mask at Gen Con, like a lot of them.
Spaceballs the Mask?
Like, remember in Spaceballs where it was all about merchandising? It was Spaceballs this, Spaceballs that, Spaceballs the flamethrower,
mask.
Spaceballs the mask.
Oh,
it just said
okay.
Spaceballs the Mask on it. There was a lot of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's weird that a Spaceballs like reference made a big comeback like that, but
well,
I guess maybe not. It's the right demographic.
Yeah, very much so.
All right, so it is 27 minutes into the recording. I'm going to try in about 3 to 4 minutes to wrap up my banter. Okay, so Megan and I have been biking. I bought an electric bicycle since the last time we recorded. I already have almost 100 miles on it. I did a long bike ride to and from New Terrain Brewing in Golden, which is a fantastic brewery.
Oh, yeah.
Really like New Terrain. The bike
It's
there,
quite the facility.
it's a steady 500 feet of elevation gain over 13 miles there, and then the exact opposite coming back. So it's a nice coasty ride coming back, which was perfect because it was hot and we were tired.
Is this like a standard bike that is electric? You're not in one of the weird city down kind?
Correct. It is a standard bike that has like an e-assist.
Gotcha.
And then this past Sunday, we went to Strange. Ant biked from his house to our house, and then biked with us back to his house to pick up Julie, and then biked to Strange.
Yeah, he's been doing like 100-mile.
He did an 80-some mile with 5,290 feet of elevation gain, so just over a mile of elevation. Big ass loop of Denver. It was fucking crazy.
Yes.
But that bike ride ended up being like almost 40 miles for Megan and I. It was like a 50, 60 mile day for Ant, and then like a 3 mile day for Julie, which seems nice for her.
Yeah.
They're having some kind of a flea market at Strange. I did not realize that Dave, the bartender who's often there when we do game nights, the shorter guy with the blonde curly hair.
Also artist.
I did not know he was the fucking artist.
Yeah.
So he had a little booth selling stickers and buttons and stuff.
Yeah.
And so we bought some stickers and buttons.
I also had only realized that in the last 3 or 4 months as well. So I think it was a social media post where they were like talking about their people.
Yeah. So that's been great. Getting the bike riding in has become like a Sunday activity for Megan and I, biking to a brewery, having a couple beers, biking home. That's been a lot of fun. We went that night, this past Sunday, we went out for a nice dinner because Megan got a 9% raise, which is like her third raise of the last 2 years, third or fourth raise of the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So we went out to Garden Grace, which is arguably one of the better steak houses in Denver.
Yep.
Was very good. I had a Wagyu sirloin that was awesome. She had a cod that was incredibly rich. And had a wonderful bottle of wine. That was probably more than I'd like to spend on a bottle of wine, but it was very, very good.
Neat.
And then lastly, I took my new Tacoma up on a 4-wheel drive trail to go camping. So I 4-wheel drove up over big rocks and bumpy things way up to Loch Lomond, Loch La something.
Loch Lomond?
I don't think it was Loch Lomond.
Loch 1? Loch 2?
No.
Loch 3?
But it was up by Mount
That's another Spaceballs reference.
It was up by Mount Kingston. And it was really fun. And we're going to try and do that again. Maybe this weekend, maybe next weekend. Megan's only got like 2 or 3 weeks until she leaves on the Colorado Trail, though. And then she will be hiking for 6 to 8 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. So
What is that?
the Colorado Trail?
When?
When? Like 2 to 3 weeks.
2 to 3. Okay.
Something like that. So, yeah, because she's about to not fully quit her job. She's shifting to PRN, which pays like 60% more, but she loses all of her benefits.
Oh.
Yeah. But she only has to work 5 shifts every 6 weeks, and they can be like front loaded or back loaded in the 6 weeks. So she can basically get like 8 weeks without using any vacation or time off or anything.
Gotcha.
And she gets paid 40% more. So she just got a 9% raise. So then when she gets paid 40% more, it's of 9% more of her pay. So
Okay.
that's also good. It's not how the math works exactly.
Just you're fine.
She gets paid more
Yes.
and more and more. So
I like money.
Yeah. There you go. That's my banter. I did it in under 5 minutes.
Indeed.
Are you proud of me?
No.
I knew that was going to be the answer.
Keep searching for that approval.
There's not ever a world where I would get a yes for that, or for anything, any situation where I ask either of you, "Are you proud of me?" I will never get a yes.
No. That's for your dads.
It's for your friends that don't make fun of you when you're playing when you're
Yeah.
when you're losing in a game.
Go find those fucking people.
All right, tell us about Gen Con. 30 minutes into the Gen Con spectacular. Let's
Yes.
talk about Gen Con.
Now we'll have 1 hour of Gen Con spectacularness.
Jeff has an itemized list, so he's gonna drive this, and then I'll
I made
interject.
the itemized list because I assumed you wouldn't really remember most of what we did.
I am offended, shocked, and appalled of the accuracy of that statement.
Gen Con.
Gen Con.
I was so work fucked that entire previous week. My boss ended up being in the hospital. My other boss was on vacation that week. My boss in the hospital ended up being fine. He got back yesterday. He had 2 weeks off. He has another day or so off this week for testing and stuff like that. But I was running that shit I showed up Monday like normal, and they were like, hey, just so you know, you're going to be running the entire department for 7 work days because we're all out of here. And I was like, oh, fuck. Okay. Good thing it's not like a crazy week. So I blasted through that nightmare of a work week. Made it through Monday, made it through most of Tuesday, and then it was Gen Con time. I did get to, unfortunately, miss out on Cohesion's first anniversary, which was the over Gen Con weekend.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah. I flew out Tuesday afternoon and got in pretty late. We had a big delay, so I got in at only like 9 o'clock. So didn't do much. Got Portillo's on the way home, of course. Because over the summer, Portillo's has like midnight hours at certain locations, which was fantastic. And then I did brunch with the family Wednesday morning and then picked Zach up from the airport that afternoon from his international arrival.
Yep. Southwest just like
loves that international terminal, but that terminal is like so easy. It's easy to get to. It's easy to get out of. You just need to know you have to go there.
Yes.
Which
and know that's where you went.
Yes.
That was the problem the first time because
I swung through all the rest of the terminals and they're like, yeah, we're at this other. I was like, 5? What are you fucking talking about? 5? 5's the international terminal. That's nowhere near all these other terminals that I now have to like get out of the airport, back on the highway, back on to get like back into the Terminal 5. Yeah. But it was like super easy. He was like, I'm here. And I was like, I'm 90 seconds away. And about 90 seconds later, I had pulled up.
Yeah.
The cell phone lot is convenient, except for all the fuckers that like to sit on the highway with their like hazards on in the like emergency pull off area because they're waiting for whoever to get to the fucking airport. I was explaining to Zach, I was like, I've seen cops show up en masse and just pull over every single one of those fucking cars and be like, ticket, 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 ticket. And be like,
yeah. They don't do it as much as anymore, but
Yeah, it has happened. And then we went into Chicago for lunch. Paul had given us shit for going to the same places all the time, so we tried a recommendation, which was Cubicito,
something like that.
which has Cuban coffee and sandwiches and other stuff. And we got the Cuban coffee, and we got the sandwich.
Did you get a Cubano?
Yeah.
Or-
We got Cubanos, and it was an average Cubano, and Cuban coffee is pretty good.
Yeah, it was very good coffee.
I'm very curious what makes Cuban coffee Cuban coffee.
Sugar. Espresso with sugar.
Oh, that sounds like something I would not like.
It's very sweet espresso,
Yep.
from what I could tell.
Gonna be a no from me, dog.
And then it poured like fucking crazy.
Yep.
I got to experience the wonders of Chicago parking, which is like app-based. You have to preload the app with a certain amount of money. Then you have to preload, like, filling a meter of, like, how long you'll be there. But it seems like you could be freed from those things because it's all app-based and just you punch in the 6-digit number of, like, the street section that you're parking on to where you don't need to be like, hey, I'm only going to be here an hour. Maybe I could just be like, hey, start, and I've got this fucking preloaded horseshit on there.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if you put under a certain amount of money, they like charge you a surcharge for being under a certain amount of time on top of that.
Great things happen when city governments are like, hey, we'll just...
And they gave him like 100-year lease for
and it's already paid for itself, and
By,
they're
like,
making stupid amounts of money.
stupid. So I have a bunch of money in a Chicago like park. I had to preload Chicago with $20 to park there.
At least you
Also,
have
it's
a chance of
$4.75 an hour.
Yeah.
continuing
On the-
to go to Chicago and use that up over time.
Yeah.
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 As opposed to like if I go to Chicago, I'm just fucked.
Yeah. That sucks.
Mm-hmm.
You heard it here first, folks. Chicago does not want tourists. Only locals are allowed to park there.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, actually, no, they want tourists to have to put $20 and then never fucking spend
But
it.
Chicago never sees any of that money. It only goes to that whatever that corporation is. They just run it for the.
Well, yeah.
Chicago paid them a fuckload of money to make a fuckload of money.
Well, I'm sure that somebody got a fucking shitload of cash
Yeah,
in a
I'm
back
sure.
room somewhere because
Yeah.
it's fucking Chicago.
Correct.
And it's the only thing that explains that shit fucking deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had an average lunch, unfortunately. And then we headed down to the wide world of Indianapolis. It severe thunderstormed, let's say 70% of the time.
Fuck, I forgot something from banter.
Well, you can...
Severe
'cause it-
thunderstorm
Yeah,
here.
because
Yeah.
well, we'll get to that at the end when
Yeah.
we're coming back. But
Okay.
it severe thunderstormed pretty much the whole way down to fucking Indianapolis, so I could see like tail lights in front of me the entire way down until we hit like the edge of it, and then we could see all of just the nightmare around us of clouds. And I was like, remember when it was daytime, Zach?
Yeah.
Because this was still like early afternoon. Made it down to Indianapolis.
Made it to the Super 8.
Made it to the fantastic Super 8.
Best hotel in Indy, right?
Rock bottom prices,
oh.
rock bottom service.
Yeah, we were in line to check in because their internet wasn't working or something for probably a solid 45 to an hour. And then someone had to like run in a bunch of key cards to them because they were like out of key cards. We got one for both of us. That key card then only worked once per day for the rest of the trip, to where when we would get back and go through like the exterior entrance, that would be like our one for the fucking day. And we'd have to get into our room. We'd have to go up and have them reset our fucking key card to
Yeah.
be able to get into our room like every night. Quality establishment,
Yep.
as Zach can affirm,
Yep.
as he was standing waiting for me to get our key card reset one evening.
And
What happened, Zach?
clearly heard a prostitute and her
John.
working out transactions,
Negotiating.
confirming that he wanted her to do certain things, and then starting the transaction. And so Jeff just comes back to me, my face just being like, okay, yeah, this is happening. Okay.
This is happening.
You know? I can confirm it was consensual because I heard agreements on both ends.
You know, that's what really matters.
Enthusiastic consent.
Yeah.
There was a hole punched in our wall as well.
And just for clarification too, the first thing I heard was, so I'm confirming that you want me to sit on your face. Is just how it started it off. And went from there.
That sounds like enthusiastic consent to me.
Yeah.
So we're looking at other spots for next year.
Also,
You're
there was
telling me you didn't stay to see who came out of the room.
It was like 1:00 in the morning.
It was quite late.
Yeah. Also,
we
there
had
was
a ton of shit with us.
Yeah. There was a hole punched in the wall.
Yes.
Was it definitely a punch?
It was a fist size.
It was a fist size hole, and we went up there when we were leaving, and we're like, by the way, there's a hole in the wall. We didn't, and they're like, oh, we know, you're good. Don't worry about it. And I was like, you agreed to that far too quickly. I don't like that.
How long has this hole been here?
Yeah.
they're like, honestly, there's not a room in the hotel that doesn't have a hole.
When we were waiting for our key card, it was just like, don't put anyone in this room. Someone tore down the curtain rod
and someone was just like, our room just smells like.
Do you have a room that doesn't smell like smoke?
Yeah.
I believe was what they said.
Which last year our room smelled like smoke that someone tried to cover up with something else. Our room didn't smell like that.
But for like 4 days.
Yeah.
Like whatever they tried to cover up with was long lasting.
It was.
Was the hint of smoke underneath also long lasting last time?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't believe you guys keep going back here.
We're not anymore.
Yeah,
Third time was the charm.
Yes, third time was indeed the charm. There was no smell this year.
Yeah.
There was no smell.
Minor improvement.
General room, like our room was, there was cigarette burns in everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, holes. A lot of like the curtain for the shower hang was like
mostly torn down, but still technically attached.
Yes. So it was fine.
Did it mostly keep the water in the shower?
Yeah, no, that part was fine.
Yeah.
The just one set of fucking towels. They're like, here you go.
One towel
Yeah.
is all we got
Yeah.
the entire time.
Yep.
One towel each?
No, just one. Just one.
Just a singular one.
Just one.
I couldn't have done that. I'd have to go buy a towel.
Well, there were just extra towels in your car, so it could have.
There were, yeah. Everything we needed to come out of that trunk did. So
it was a magic trunk.
It was nice. The walk from
Megan forgot I was recording tonight. Sorry about that, everybody.
The walk from the Cuban spot to our car that was also very, very rainy.
Mm-hmm.
By the time we had gotten to the car, we were quite moist, and you were like, towels? And I was like, I think there's towels in the trunk. And it was like, boom, towels.
Yeah.
And then when we got down to Indy, I was just like, I think there's umbrellas in the trunk. And like, boom, umbrellas.
3 umbrellas.
And there was also a 4th umbrella in the center console, by the way.
Amazing.
So we would have all the umbrellas we would ever need.
I really should have been like, is there Twilight Inscription in this trunk?
There, unfortunately, was not. The Day 0 festivities continued. We lifted into the Georgia Street party, got the Fest beer,
Yep.
the Belgian Golden Ale from Sun King, and then we went over to Kilroy's for our traditional half off Long Island night.
Mm-hmm.
I do miss that.
It's very smart to have your first and probably second Long Island just be the Red Bull Long Island because it really helps level things out.
Because last year, both of you had one, and I had one.
Two. We had 2, but neither of them were.
And then you were just like, we're tired.
We also had we got up earlier, and so we were both tired. This one I was sort of tired already, but the Red Bull really helped it out. So
yeah. And I was just like, I'm not here for 1 half off Long Island. I'm here for 3 half off Long Islands, which we did.
There you go.
Which brings us to Day 1.
Actual Gencon talk.
Actual Gencon.
46 minutes in.
15 minutes of Day 0.
Yeah.
Yes, and getting to Gencon. We did not get to the running of the nerds at any way, shape, or form the entire convention.
We were never going to.
No. I'm over trying to run to a booth to pay MSRP for whatever hot shit's going to come out in 6 weeks, and then have to bring it back.
This is why we don't have Twilight Inscription.
Well,
locally.
So when we were going there, the last time that Fantasy Flight was there, they sold their own shit. They
had their own booth. They had their own store in their booth. It was a huge.
There was
store
a
booth.
line, but you could just get in and have a good chance of getting something. They didn't have that. They shielded off to Miniature Market that they
Which
bought.
Asmodee now owns.
Yeah.
And they had a real small fucking booth too.
Tiny.
Fantasy Flight or the Asmodee? Like
They didn't have one. Miniature Market was the only place that was selling their stuff, and they
Fantasy Flight had Asmodee had a big area, but it was just for
So
testing.
no
stuff.
store.
Are you're saying the Miniature Market booth was
Yes,
very tiny?
yes.
But
Yes.
selling stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
but they were selling all the Asmodee stuff because
Sure.
that is kind of the Asmodee store at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, basically.
Super tiny, no cool stuff like Dig and Dent, no cool stuff booth. Very little of people selling stuff in general.
Comparatively,
Yeah.
I mean, there's still a bunch of dice, and it did feel like there were fewer people.
General stores of
Yeah.
like the usual cool stuff. Miniature Market. There's whatever like it sells all the Mayday shit and Catan and just kind of like a bunch of stuff. So like each individual publisher did have a booth with store stuff, but in general it felt like
Board Game Geek wasn't really there.
Board Game Geek wasn't there.
Like there was some
really
yeah.
wasn't there.
No.
Meeple Source had
Meeple
some
Source was there
that had some of their stuff, but
Yep.
like the things that they work on together. But like promo things, Dice Tower's there, but there wasn't anything that I had that I needed from that. So
because it was usually BGG and Dice Tower like promo hunting. But both were BGG didn't exist and Dice Tower is very small.
yep.
All the hotness stuff got snapped up almost immediately. Planet Unknown, they had their deluxe edition there. That was gone. Turing Machine from Hachette and the Decrypto folks, that had a line every morning, and they had copies that were selling out. Twilight Inscription had copies most mornings, and they were selling out. Cat in the Box had, that's from Bezier, the werewolf folks.
Yeah.
They had a line that first day, but they had a bunch of copies, so they ended up not selling out, but were quite in demand. The Arc Capstone, because they had the Arc Nova
Yes. Hotness.
map pack there.
Oh, yeah.
Bought a couple of those.
Damn it, I meant to ask you to buy me one.
Yeah, I bought two. One for me, one for my coworker. It's like two maps, two new maps. One is it turns the map into like a continental specific area. So there's like a European area, an Asian area, African area,
okay.
and so you get points for building certain ones in certain spots.
Okay.
And then the other one has to do with like animal rescue or something like that.
Okay.
And you get 3 slots at the top that when you play onto a certain area, you can put an animal in there for free. You ignore the bottom half of the card, but get all the icons.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
They seem neat. Heroscape got announced, so there's Heroscape's coming back. So
Age
Zach,
of Annihilation or something like that.
Zach can finally break out his hundreds of dollars of Heroscape again.
Giant ass fucking tub. Still got all that.
Man.
There's a new Hero Quest expansion, like ground up, like Ice something
Sure.
or another. Not much from Fantasy Flight. They hinted at the Descent expansion, which looks like Undead in some fashion or another. It's going to be Act 2. Apparently, they had previously announced some like side quest content, but that's going to come after Act 2.
To make sure that X2 comes out.
Yeah. That thing that I was looking at, I was like, what is that Terraforming Mars thing that I couldn't see what it was? Terraforming Mars Dice was there in some fashion as well from Indie Boards and Cards /Stronghold. That's the Dice, I don't know. What's Race for the Galaxy? Roll for the Galaxy. It's the Terraforming Mars Dice game version. Apparently some press was actually getting copies of that to take home. I had seen it on Twitter that people had copies of it on their way. And someone had like posted like, yeah, here's my whole haul from Gencon. And someone was like, did you buy all those games? And they were like, no, most of those press copies. And they just copied over like, it's like FCC like regulation, be like, yeah, you should probably say that you got all this shit for free, like, and not just be like, hey, I'm promoting hashtag ad. But yeah, Terra Mars Dice was there. Already talked about the sales booths. No cool stuff. The expo hall was like full size. There was no weird like roped off area. There was a couple booths here and there that like weren't there. I mean, that's usual, but there was about, I don't know, 2 or 3 times more than normal of just like empty space. I know a couple booths pulled out because
of
because of Indiana and their like
abortion
women's
ban
rights,
thing.
abortion bans and stuff like that. Gencon had posted a locked off, no comment tweet about like, yeah, we support women's rights and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to shut off comments because we're going to be in this state for years to come, I'm sure. And why bring...
Due to their
Yeah.
At a minimum, due to contracts. So,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
We'll see.
Although, like, I got to think... I don't know. I don't know what the breaking the contract cost is.
I
or
mean,
where they could go.
Well, that's a bigger problem.
Yeah. I don't know. Like seen enough of different conventions being like how like COVID or like almost fucked them over. Like, what was it? Geekway was like,
Geekway barely
We need
made
to
it.
happen this year or it's never going to happen again.
Yeah. That was,
general attendance was, they said, over 50,000 people. Their goal was 75%, which would have been 57,000 people. So they got closer to their 2019 high of over 70,000 people. It felt full. It did not feel...
Yeah, it didn't feel like 75%.
Yeah. It felt much more than last year, which was like crazy, like barren.
Yeah.
We got the Lucas Oil again. We went into the board game library pretty much every night there again. Stuff we played in the board game library. I'm probably forgetting things, but I'll list most of them here.
Mm-hmm.
Something that was released at released recently, but was at Gen Con was Betrayal at the House on the Hill 3rd edition.
Yep.
I just wandered around and someone was putting it on the shelf and I was like, okay, we'll give it a shot.
This is when this was on Saturday.
Yep.
Nick was there from Slack.
He had
yeah.
He was we had said hi to a bunch because he was at the Renegade booth all weekend, and we chit-chatted him with a bit because there was My Father's Work was there.
I've heard really good things. One of my local friends who I played Viticulture with, he said that him and his significant other had played it and really liked it.
Nice.
Yeah, it was super story heavy. It seems interesting. It seems like it's going to be a Kickstarter and then it's done. That's it.
Okay.
There was what was that other game that was only art last year but was actually there with like
the one from Nikki Valens. The Tale of like Splendid State. I forget what it is, but yeah.
The Kickstarter crowdfunding has already happened for that one.
Yes.
They actually had stuff there, which was cool. So we hung out with Nick and we played Betrayal 3rd edition. A couple rules changes if you're deep into Betrayal. When you reveal a room, your turn's over.
Oh.
Yeah, no more moving beyond and getting more stuff.
Okay, that's a logical rule.
Yeah, yeah. If you
Because
reveal
it was
the room,
very rare that you got to move beyond.
Yeah.
Because events and omens always stopped you.
Yeah.
But then there were like the weird, like sometimes like items wouldn't, and then sometimes there were a handful of blank rooms.
Yeah. So this is all new. I think all new content.
I'm sure it's all new. I mean, I'm sure it's all new haunts.
I had flipped through the haunts. It looked like there was some homages to earlier haunts that would be like a sequel almost.
Yeah.
Okay.
The big thing is that now there are like 5 cards you choose in the beginning, and they sort of guide which haunts you're going to get. So
I remember them talking about that.
So at the very least, you could play 5 times and make sure you do not get any of the same haunts, right? So Ours was themed around like a friend was disappeared. Like,
sorry.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, but
No.
spoiler.
No, I
alert.
wasn't saying.
You don't listen
no,
to this show.
No, the card
he
that you start
doesn't.
off with was, "Hey, your friend disappeared, and you're in the house trying to figure out why." And so a lot of the haunts are around a disappearing friend and like the cause of that.
Sure.
So, but I mean, it's still like 90% Betrayal. Like it's still it still feels exactly the same game.
A little more refined, I
just
think.
a little more refined.
The haunt seemed not too complicated. There was a traitor versus the others.
Yep.
I was the traitor.
This time though, they have you both read story beats of like what the traitor is thinking and what you're thinking in the books before you guys go out.
Yeah, there's
like before you split.
Yeah, there's an introduction in each book. You read out the introductions to each other, so you kind of know what's happening.
That's
unless
also a
you're
logic.
Jeff, in which case, because he was the traitor, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to read the Survivor stuff," and
handed
then
it off, and then I walked away with the traitor,
and then
didn't
came back,
read it.
read the traitor
Yes.
stuff, and then left. And it was just like, "Oh, well, he just read both sides of it. Awesome."
Yes.
Cheater, pumpkin eater.
I didn't actually read anything else besides the.
No, I know. I know.
I
you
don't
didn't.
remember anything of what you actually had to do except the setup of needing salt.
Yes.
Wait, were you the snail?
Correct. I mean, not really, but there was
not the end of time snail. No.
Oh, was there? Okay.
I was thinking of something else. Then there was a whole thing on. Yeah, whatever.
I was definitely thinking Always Sunny, like Salt the Snail.
Oh no,
no.
but there was salt and there was snails.
Okay.
Like they had to find food that represented snails, and then the snails had to do things.
Yep.
We got the haunt pretty early. It was. I think we had a 4-die haunt.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Can't tell you who won though.
There was a chainsaw involved.
Yes.
Yeah, the chainsaw was found pretty. There was a chainsaw, a crossbow,
a dagger.
A Google search of how effective a chainsaw would be actually against a suit of armor.
Yep.
And
not very, I would say.
Yeah. But I did find a thread about chainsaw versus like medieval armor.
I guess it would depend on the kind of armor. Like plate armor, probably not so great. Chainmail, it would be interesting.
Yeah.
Probably get
but
caught
I mean,
in
it seems just like kind of like another. Let's say a Betrayal Legacy being the best version of Betrayal, where they're like, hey, maybe we should do that, but like a regular game of Betrayal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Where we don't write a bunch of horse shit that you can't understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was second edition? Was second edition the most recent edition that I've played for the last
Probably,
decade or
yes.
so?
Yeah.
It had the really bad expansion.
I can't imagine how bad.
There's also a
Butchers must have
Scooby-Doo
been.
one and a D&D one too.
Baldur's Gate.
Which I've heard Baldur's Gate is really good.
Yeah, because I think that had a lot of smoothing of like,
Yeah.
hey, we should probably stop sucking at writing these
Yeah.
and not just pump out as many of them as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, we need to play through Legacy.
Definitely doesn't sound like that happened for 12 weeks now.
We
though.
could probably sneak in a few before she leaves.
No, I don't
if
know
we
about
made
that.
it a point.
Knowing our
if we
scheduling.
tried, we could try to get a couple in.
Whoa. Trying.
What's next, Jeff?
So that was Betrayal. We also played with Nicholas, Architects of the West Kingdom, which I believe he demoed to us when that game
That was with my friend Ryan.
Was with
Yes.
Ryan. Okay,
Yes.
where we did play this. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Nick did demo us this game
Yeah.
where we played with Ryan.
Okay.
Ryan's my friend that lives in Louisville, so he visits. He
Yes.
visits for a day. Yeah.
Cool.
We went to Rathskeller with our crazy, spicy horseradish mustard.
Claws up your
sausage.
sinuses. It's
Oh,
amazing.
like claws like a rat trying to crawl into your skull level of horseradish.
Mhm.
It's fantastic.
Yes.
I had a fantastic Reuben and French onion soup. Ryan got the pork tenderloin sandwich, which is an Indianapolis staple, apparently. What'd you get?
That's just a salad and soup and
Soup and
potato.
salad?
Yeah.
Soup, salad, potato.
Yeah.
It was all very good. Beer
Mhm.
was also fantastic, as always.
Yep.
Because they have the good German imported shit.
from the brewery that was established in 1040.
Yeah. So we played Architects of the West Kingdom, which is the first time Zach has played it. I have played it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't think Ryan had touched it in any way, shape, or form.
No. I can tell you 100% guarantee he had not played it before.
It went it was super close.
Yeah.
Who won?
Ryan did, but it was like 26, 27, 28 or something like that.
Yeah, it was, yes. Because he had built a bunch of buildings and and then he had a bunch of architects, and I was like, oh, buildings, whatever.
Classic mistake.
So this is the architect's game where you have a fuckload of worker. He won by having, and he also had no workers left.
Yeah,
and had to spend multiple turns just pulling one dude
Yep.
off the board for his entire turn.
Y'all didn't have a bunch of them locked up?
Oh, we did, and that's why he ran out of workers, because he wasn't freeing them.
Yeah.
But this has the virtue system where if you're low on virtue, you don't have to really pay taxes or anything, but then you can't go into the cathedral. But when you get higher up on virtue, you can't do the black market. But the higher up you are, the more points you get.
Okay.
I'll tell you, that beginning of the game, you're just like, oh, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. Take them. I don't care. And then like near halfway, you're like, oh God, I need to really do this. But if I don't do this one thing, I'm gonna have to spend a turn just taking one dude back, and it's gonna suck
because your workers multiply the action based on whatever space they go
also
to.
What sucks is seeing 2 spaces being taken up on the black market, knowing that Jeff is going before you, and knowing that you will have the most people in prison, and just being like I look at him, he looks at me, and he's just like, and I'm like,
I'm going to do it again.
I know.
I'm just going to do it again.
I know. God damn it.
I'm going to spend this action freeing my guys, just so you know. But then you're like, well, I can't because I have to do this other thing.
Yeah.
Well, just so you know, you're going to be at fucked next round. Because whoever does get has like the most prisoners whenever the black market turns, you get like a debt, and a bunch of bad stuff happens, and yeah.
Yep.
Architects of the West Kingdom is great. I backed the Viscounts Kickstarter that had all their new stuff, but I also added on all of the architect stuff.
I would be curious to see what expansions add for that.
I've heard the expansions to that are quite fantastic. Okay. So
I do enjoy it, but I think I still feel like I would if they are that good, I definitely would be interested in trying them out. Yeah. Architects
is pretty great. Adrian, at this point of the show, I need to request you go to the freezer and get those beers.
Get the special beers? I can handle that. You can continue your discussion.
We don't care what you have to say.
Rude.
We're going to twist around.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to twist around to day one, where we hung out with, was this Dirtbag Chris?
Yes.
Dirtbag Chris of Boards and Swords.
Correct.
Fame. There's too many Chris's, and he ended up being Dirtbag.
Yep.
But the Dirtbag invited us to a press meeting.
I feel like I want Adrian to be here for this one.
That's fine. I'm going to explain all of those things first.
Okay.
Twilight Inscription was probably our most wanted game of the convention.
We tried to go when on the first day. We got there at like 10:30, 10:35, and I was like, "Oh, there'll be a line, but I hopefully will be able to get something." No, immediately sold out. And they didn't have that many copies that day. But
they were like 70 copies, and we were sold out in 5 minutes.
No, that was even on other the first day was only like 13 or 15 or however many.
Shit.
Yeah, but they had like 70 copies on the best day, and those were out within like 5 minutes. And they were very wishy-washy about like selling to exhibitors. So even the people we knew working there couldn't get one.
Yeah, they had a separate like exhibitor line of like, we're gonna have 5 for exhibitors, and then everyone else can come and buy.
Yeah, so we'll just have to wait till September or whenever it comes out
in like 6 weeks. Yeah,
yeah,
it's not long.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was definitely the game that we wanted to see. That was the big Fantasy Flight release. They didn't really have much else there for really anything else. They had some of their like Netflix games. They had like the Squid Games.
They had Squid Games, they had Ozarks, and then they had Stranger Things. Didn't try any of those, but
their booth was mostly demo space, which is nice because a lot of the demos of the convention were ticketed events. Once again, next year we'll probably have to actually focus on getting tickets to demo events because that seems like what a lot of publishers want to do these days.
This was the first time we ever like did that, and we didn't even end up actually even using them, but it seems like a way to go to actually try out.
Yeah, because we wanted to try out Starship Captains, and that was only a ticketed event, and they were like, a lot of people don't show up to these. Have tickets and just hang out when they're supposed to start, and we'll seat you.
Well, it also seems like we just need to be like, let's get like a bunch of generic tickets too.
Yeah,
just
I'll have a bunch of generic tickets for next year after the grand printing.
Yeah.
I can only assume they'll accept last year's tickets.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dirtbag Chris had invited us to a press demo of Twilight Inscription. We went to the booth where he was informed to go, and they were like, I don't know what you're talking about. They were demoing it at the booth, but we actually had to go to the event hall where it was, and we had to chit chat with some folks to be like, hey.
It was more about joining on the learn to plays than the actual exhibit hall booth.
Yes. Which we then showed up, and they were...
Well, it worked out, too, because we were 15 minutes late.
Yeah.
Because of Kilroy's was taking forever, and then they also dropped my sandwich.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes. They dropped your sandwich because we tried to get lunch like 45 minutes beforehand, and then they dropped your sandwich, which delayed us further, and then they couldn't figure out where he was supposed to go, and he emailed the person, and they were like, no, you're supposed to be at the booth. And it's like, no, you're supposed to be in the event hall, actually.
Sounds like I just missed one of the best parts of the entire weekend.
No.
Zach's sandwich got dropped.
Oh,
it was just
BLT.
BLT, so it just caused us to
fine.
be...
They just dusted off.
That's what I assumed happened. Yeah. But I had...
It was a pretty dusty BLT.
I had pounded my tenderloin sandwich in the time it took him to like get his like second BLT in.
So then he was just watching me and be like, fucking eat it. And I was like,
go. Don't you know how to speed eat? You dunk it in the water, then you choke it down.
Did they drop it in front of you?
No, it was in the back.
No, it was just more of they handed Jeff's to him, and they were like, your sandwich got dropped. We are remaking it now.
Yeah, and it was very busy.
Yeah.
But then we made it to the TI. It is TI.
It is TI, but
it's just Twilight Inscription.
Yes.
100%.
And
Jeff, I had pounded my tenderloin Jackson.
So we began a private tutorial as we were getting caught up to the Twilight Inscription teach, where they had like these massive, like 4 foot wide boards where they were like holding up for all of the other press to see what like certain phases worked like.
So real quick before that, I'm just gonna, Adrian. Okay, so Twilight Inscription, is it a roll and write or is it a flip and fill?
Yes.
That is the correct answer. Because it is both.
Yes, it is a roll and write, but to roll is flipped.
No, because there's a flip, you fill some more shit, and then you roll and you fill some more shit.
Correct. It is a roll and write with a Twilight Imperium theme. It is not a Twilight Imperium 4th edition shoved into a roll and write.
But it is still by far the heaviest roll and write I've ever played.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So the teach is taught well. It is taught in basically 5 different rounds. Each of the first 4 rounds is, we're going to go over this sheet because you have 4 sheets. You go over each of the sheets. It's like navigation, industry, warfare, and blue.
It's basically like the 4 different X's.
Yeah,
So
basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Explore, expand.
It's like explore. So yeah, whatever.
So
but yeah.
basically, it's a bunch of lines between planets and resources.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bunch of planets.
Like the specific planets and like cultivating those planets.
Yep.
Like and then there's the warfare stuff, which is about building up your different fleets, and then there's the actual industry on the bottom, which is about gaining resources,
Gotcha.
trade goods, and then also votes. So
Yes. There's probably a good 3 or 4 sectors on each of the sheets that can be individually marked. Some give technology that unlock things on other sheets. Others unlock resources that you can mark off for other things. They just kind of go one by one. They come with these nice neon orange chalk markers that you can see very well what you're writing.
it is the best thing I've seen for marking on roll and write things in order to see it clearly.
Yes.
It was no way are you confusing it for anything other than that.
Yes. I'm trying to pull up a photo of a thing so I can actually talk about it. There it is. Yeah. That's navigation, expansion, warfare, and industry. So they went one by one through each of the 4. When you actually play the game, you can choose which one you want to do. They also did not give us factions during that tutorial. Only after we had been introduced to each of the sheets that they let us get a faction that we would then be able to use. There are technologies that are on these sheets that you can unlock through a specific technology symbol, or there are 6 dice. There's 3 general dice and 3 different colored dice that will let you unlock. You will be able to use those dice if you unlock other shit throughout the game, like the space docks you would unlock. Gets you a free die to put onto any other sheet. When you use that sheet, you can use that specific colored die as well as all of the black dice.
So as the game's going through, you're getting more and more actions to do because of those unlocked dice.
Chris had unlocked all the space docks immediately, and then we got to the vote phase, which one of the votes was mark off 1 resource on all of the space docks. And I was like, well, clearly we're doing this one and not the other one, because that means you get nothing. But something to note in this is your votes are a resource that are spent and do not renew. When votes happen, you will get a certain amount of votes depending on your diplomats or culture or something like that. Basically,
A bunch of different things that can get you, reoccurring, like replenishing of votes, but it's new votes, but it's still, you have a finite amount that once you use them, you lose those that you have to then earn again later.
Yes.
Okay.
You could technically get up to 10 votes in that phase, but that will probably only happen in the last round or something like that.
Okay.
And then you pass fail.
Yeah. Both times that we had the vote phase, it was something that Jeff and I both wanted that we didn't want Chris to have, and we had enough votes to outspend him, because you're supposed to say how many votes you have out loud, but then you hide what you're voting for and how much.
You can still negotiate with people and such, but there is an epic amount to talk with this game. There's a lot of columns. There's a lot of rows. When you fill columns, you get bonuses. When you fill rows, you get bonuses. When you fill a bunch of stuff and you get more stuff. Warfare is interesting. You war against your right and left. There is 2 columns of warfare, and every time one of the warfare cards flips, you do warfare, and it depends on, and your ships are a bunch of lines and dots. Like when you buy an infantry, you get to fill in a dot. When you buy a PDS, you get like a little Tetris T piece. When you buy a cruiser, it's just 2 lines.
And there are, like, you can get destroyers and war sons, but you have to like unlock those to even get them.
Dreadnoughts.
You can't, I thought war sons was the very bottom.
They are, but it's Dreadnought, War Sun, Cruiser, PDS,
there we
infantry.
go. Yeah.
But certain factions will get like their own special unit that they can use when they unlock the special technology icon. And it's like mine was put 4 lines down, like because I was the bug race that gets +1 to all combat or whatever. Yeah. So I just was able to get a bunch of like free lines, and you're counting up how many lines you have versus the person to your left.
That's the dots, I believe.
Dots.
Yeah. And then it's whoever has the most, like it's like if we were fighting, your right side would go against my left side, and then my right side would go against Jeff's left side.
Okay.
And then it's whoever wins gets a bonus, whoever loses gets a negative. And
there's
then,
a top and bottom for each one. The bottom is always negative victory points at the end of the game. The top is technology, or unlock your racial tech, or unlock a die, or get a free planet, or stuff like that.
Okay.
But then you draw a line and you move to the next sector. So everything that's been drawn below that line, it's gone. Now you have to start up on the next line.
So it's about
You could have kept drawing up and up and up, but anything that's below that first or in that first sector is gone for the rest of the game.
Okay.
And you have to start from the bottom and work up.
Okay.
So you're just kind of like spending resources to draw a bunch of lines that represent ships and infantry. If you put certain things in certain places, you get additional victory points as you crawl up that tree. There's a bunch of anomaly things that didn't really come up during the game.
They're basically, you can't go through them unless you're the race that can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ghosts of Creus kind of a thing.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, there might be technologies that could have something to do with them.
There's a bunch of text you can you can unlock for each of the different sheets that get you new abilities.
Yeah.
Like the text in Twilight Imperium. So
it helps that we have gotten a in-depth demo of the game, because learning this out of the rulebook would be terrible.
We haven't seen the rulebook. I mean, it could be the best rulebook you've ever seen, Jeff.
It could.
I was just saying this, so after we played that, if I had to teach like 7 new people this entire game, I would be like, I really wish I had those 4-foot giant scrolls just to be like, everybody look, because you can play this on a much thinner board, like or table than like Twilight Imperium, but it doesn't take up that much less space. Each of the like your personal tableau of shit's pretty big.
Yeah, and then there will also be unique mats for up to 8 players, so everyone would then have like different stuff.
Yeah. So basically, I would describe it it's not Twilight Imperium in a roll and write, but it's like the Twilight Imperium of roll and writes.
Yes, for sure. Like, I didn't go hard in on the industry grid, but it seems like there's a lot you can do in there.
That's what I was doing. I was the Hakan, so the cat merchants, and they get there are trade goods that you can earn every time they refresh, and trade goods basically let you use them as wilds. And their ability is when you use a trade good, you can use them for 2 goods instead of 1 as regular. So it's like, I need to focus on this to help me boost all my other shit. So it seems like each of the factions are definitely good at focusing you on shit.
Okay, cool. And just what you can even do on there is depending on the die faces that come up. Like, it's really the more common die faces will let you just kind of cross out resources on the industry grid. Mm-hmm. And then like the rarer one lets you actually claim them. But then later you'll get technologies that let you claim stuff that's next to like 3 crossed out resources. Mm-hmm. It's insane.
It's a lot. It was fun though. I liked it.
Yeah. There's objectives, just like Twilight Imperium. You'll get basically 1 for each sheet at the beginning of the game, and then whoever gets there like first, and then
welcome to style.
Yeah, whoever gets there first gets the bigger amount of points, and then anyone after gets lesser. Mechatol Rex is on everyone's sheet, but like whoever claims it first gets a good chunk of points and votes. Whoever gets it second, third, fourth, etc., gets lesser and lesser.
Okay.
On the score sheet for Mechatol Rex, like the first person that claims it actually gets to write their name on Mechatol Rex, and then everyone kind of goes in down. But the first 3 were like founders of Mechatol Rex or something, and then everyone below 3 had just like shittier ones.
Title type
yeah,
things.
I wonder if something will come up as like if you're in the top 3 of whatever. But yeah, lamination was good. Markers were good. That was definitely. I think that was the heaviest game we. No, it's not the heaviest game we played. I don't know. It's arguably the heaviest game that we played the entire convention. But Twilight Inscription was probably my most look forward to of all of them for sure. I ended up purchasing as we were just like wandering by. Game Center had that's where Fantasy Flight was selling all their stuff last year, like Unfathomable and the Nebula Marvel Champions pack. That was kind of the new releases from Fantasy Flight last year, but we discovered that they were also printing the codexes from Twilight Imperium 4th edition, which were all of the balance changes and the new faction. So you could purchase the Codex 1, 2, and 3 like printed.
Like game quality versus print and play sort of stuff. And these were things that were print and play that they're like, well, just pay us $20 and we'll print it nice for you.
Yeah.
Which is what Jeff did.
Yep. So I purchased all 3 of those for Paul and 3 of those for myself. Mostly because that Codex 3 had that new faction in there. So we have like the actual faction sheet for that new faction in there now, which is very nice.
Yep.
They also had done reference sheets for every faction that would let you draft, which Paul had, as of course, already printed and laminated and everything. So,
okay.
Yeah. That was kind of my big purchase. I really only bought that and then the Arc Nova maps. So
I bought the Contractors expansion for Red Cathedral, and I bought Cat in the Box. Those are two of the three things I wanted. Third one was Twilight Inscription, but no dice there.
Yeah. No matter how many people we pressed with exhibitor badges to purchase it beforehand for us. One thing that we learned that I was like, I want to try this game, and I should have learned my lesson last year, was Cloudspire. Cloudspire from Chip Theory Games, the makers of Too Many Bones and what's that sci-fi one they have now? Burn Cycle.
Yes. Should have been called Too Many Chips.
That's their whole thing. It's too many chips. Too many cooks, too many chips.
Yeah.
So it's a MOBA. You each have a base, you each have a faction. You have it's asymmetric, and you like mark where you want your stuff to go. Minions and such will just auto move as close as possible to those areas. But as they move, you have options of like looking at these tiles that are flipped face down, and they can spawn monsters. They can spawn like teleporters. They all have health chips. They all have like at least 5 different stats on each one. All the heroes can promote and get additional damage, range, or shields. There's towers that you can build, the spires of Cloudspire.
Okay.
That's right. That's right. The name of the game, right?
Yes.
Yep, Cloudspire. There is a nice walkthrough tutorial that just kind of gives you the basics. You just read it off and you do the things.
Okay.
Which is what we did.
Which is exactly what we did.
That goes through wave 1. It's of 4 waves, and it basically explains to you how the first wave works.
Yes.
Okay.
So we got through the first wave, and then we put the game away.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah. It tells you literally everything to do, where to move them, how everything attacks, what everything uses. The map is nice. It's all these nice neoprene, like custom hex sized things.
But it was a lot of like, oh, you would know to do this, and so this is why you do this and this and this. And I was just like, yeah.
It was like, well, you flip this creature over, but you're not going to want that there because you have the option of flipping it back face down, because if you flip it up, it's going to attack you every round. So you flip it back down until you can activate it later and kill it. And you flip this other one over, but it has engage, which means it has to flip over, and then you attack it, and then you run away because you can't defeat it right now. Or it just kind of went there, and it was like, you want to buy this item so you can build this spire later during your like bonus buy phase, and you're going to use this amount of mana resource, which it's called source, and they have these little dials that are cool because they turn, but they're in the neoprene, so you can't actually get a grip on them because they're flush with the neoprene, and so you're just kind of trying to like put pressure on it to like turn it in the neoprene. It seems neat. It seems like someone that would like that kind of game, it would be the best game they have ever fucking played.
We're not those people.
No. Same with Too Many Bones. It's not for me. Like, it's cool. It has a lot of like neat mechanics and stuff.
All right, Jeff, so this means the next time we're there and you see like, ooh, let's try Burn Cycle. I could just be like, no.
I'm absolutely going to break out Burn Cycle and be like, now we have to try Burn Cycle because it looks cool. Like, they spare no expense. The components are fantastic, but like, boy, is this the only game I want to play for a year to get my $250 worth out of like whatever pledge I have for it?
Almost certainly not.
And like play it multiple times so I can try all the like 6 factions and all of their different variations and get the real like meta competitive shit out of it. Burn Cycle has more, like, this was supposed to be, like, competitive with some cooperative scenarios that are in there. Like, I was more interested in the cooperative side of it.
For the Cloudspire, but it didn't give you a walkthrough of that. So
no,
we were like,
it was just like, you have to learn how to play this game, and then you can do the cooperative against the AI.
Oh, great. Yeah, what can go wrong?
And we just were like,
and we're done.
We're done.
And then it took about 15 minutes to figure out how to actually put it back in the box.
Yeah.
Which, just by trying to do it, I was nowhere close to actually how you needed to do it. I had to look up a board game gumbo unboxing video to figure out and reverse engineer the unboxing.
Jesus Christ.
And I told them when I handed it in, I was like, just keep note of how you actually take it out, or else you're not going to get it back in.
Yep.
So we also played Catapult Feud, which was our bullshit dexterity game of the show. You were apparently supposed to set up your castles 5 feet away from each other.
Seems far.
It is.
We were very much at diagonals.
We were diagonals on this weird folding table.
Yep.
And probably weren't even then 5 feet.
No.
But it was probably a solid 3.
Yeah.
Soft 4.
I would say a little farther away than that side to this side.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, this table's like 36 inches. So that's a solid 3.
3.5 to 4. Yeah, it was probably like 3.5 or 4. Yeah.
So we played the game. It has this little catapult with little big rubber balls. You set up your castle, and you have to just knock over all the other person's dudes, which we did.
Yep.
It was a lot of I knocked down most of your stuff, but there was 2 dudes behind it.
Because there are five dudes you need to knock off. 4 of them, pretty easy. That 5th one, though, was very much there's a bunch of just debris around them, so it was a war of attrition to knock, unless you could snipe their head, to hit the rubble in front of them that would knock them off the mat.
I would need a very high-speed shot into the wall area and knock it back half a centimeter. Very much nudging or snipe. There was also a card mechanic where you could shoot twice in a row or steal your opponent's cards, but then Zach stole steal an opponent's card so we could steal another one of my cards. So I ended up using 2 less cards.
That seems fair and balanced.
There's only 6 of them, and it's bullshit.
They didn't. We had
there's only 6, and he stole 2.
No. But here's the thing. Is that it took about 20 shots after we used the cards to finish.
There was far more shots without cards than there was with cards.
So it's not I had a real big advantage.
No.
And about 15 of those shots were I was trying to hit his guy, last guy, and he was trying to hit my last guy. So
sounds riveting.
It was all right. It was fun.
It's exactly what I put that game in front of you, you're getting that. No more, no less. Just
for an amount of time.
Yes.
I did also see that there are I think this was crowdfunded, and there's a bunch of expansions that seem like they make the castle building significantly more interesting.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
They add battlements that you can add on top of the general rectangular cubes.
The most annoying card was you take control of the other person's catapult, because we were both sitting 4 feet away. I'm like, oh, God damn it, now we got to get up, go around to the other person's thing to
Just
use
like
it.
turn it directly at their castle and shoot their own castle with their own catapult. There's expansions that add significantly more pieces, like a tower and like battlements and more interesting, like cool stuff. But yeah, it was fine.
Okay.
It would have been more fine if it had like expansion stuff.
Mm-hmm.
In the last night, we played with Nick and two of his friends. We played QE
Yes.
and
Weirdest game. I mean, yeah, there's a new one. Weirdest game of it I've played.
So does the new like stuff that that they added?
Oh, no, not the expansion, no.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I thought you meant like the old...
the most recent
Yeah.
edition, the board game tables edition.
Sure. But it was still the regular version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Everyone that won was like, I can't believe I won that. And everyone else was like, how are you spending that much money?
Yeah. We just it took Jeff and I far too long to figure out where the curve of inflation was.
So something that Zach had not realized before, on the 5-player side, there is a once per game look at the winning bid option.
Never knew about that.
Oh.
And multiple times we were like, let me see that fucking bid.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing? And it's just like, fuck, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But as long as other people play that game, you can play that game.
I was thinking I was like pounding up that number, but it was just kept loose. I think I tied for
one of the time that I looked at it to be like, what the fuck? Because like, say it was like 295,000, and I put like 461,000 or something like that, and then the winning bid was like 462,000, and I was like, God damn it!
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
I think I only ever won a single auction the entire game.
That's not great.
I tied for second.
I got last by a good amount
Because you spent too much?
no,
Or you were last of the people who did not?
One of Nick's friends was out.
Okay.
I think Nick won, right?
Yeah, Nick won, and I think he spent the least because he was...
I spent the least.
Oh, you spent the least?
Yes.
Up until the very end, Nick was the leader. Nick and his friend were both the leaders of that inflation curve that we kept trying to catch up. But by the time it ramped up far too quick, where it was like 600,000 and like was the bid,
like
and
2.9 million or something.
And it kept trying, and it started off at 10,000 was the first bid. And then the next round, it was 120,000, and then it was 1.2 million.
Yeah, I couldn't zero bid, but I did Price is Right rules where I just did $1.
I can't decide how I really feel about like the price spiraling like that.
Yeah, it was the highest spiral I have ever seen in that game. But I've heard that's why I'm curious to see.
Although I guess it offends me less if it spirals up versus like I've seen one where like the first bid is like $1 million and then the next bid is like 10,000 and it like breaks the game.
That's why I always start off with, just as an FYI, use the first bid to set the pace of the game. Like even if you were staying or if it's like 10,000, if you want to go to like 9,000 for like one opening bid, whatever, that's fine. But if it's at 10,000, don't be like, we're going to do 2 and 3. I was like, don't do it, because then that fucks over the first person.
They're out of the game and it's miserable.
Exactly. So it's like, as long as you just use that, like that gives you your sort of bottom floor to an extent, gives you the area that you're playing. That's the only thing that game needs needs to be said, in my opinion. But I'm still really curious about what the expansion is going to add, since it's supposed to help some of that.
Break some of that meta,
Yeah, because if you can do those first couple ones and you bid high on those first couple ones, but you drive, like we saw Nick had a majority of his wins way under what, like I won 2 items and they were at 1 million and 1.4 million. And most of his bids fit underneath that one final thing I won. So it's,
Okay.
It was a lot of fun.
Cool.
Just for the constant amount of how the fuck do people, how am I
for
not
second,
winning? Yeah.
Spending least, only winning 1, and I forgot a 0. You get 2 points for every 0 bid per round. I did not 0 bid in the first round.
Oh, I see.
Or I would have definitely locked in for second.
Gotcha.
Then we played that after we played 2 rounds of We're Doomed.
Okay.
I won the first round of We're Doomed. Was that the round that I just kind of clapped for a long time, or was that the second round? First round was the
First
clapping?
round.
So it was the sycophants one where you got to clap, and then whoever was the last to stop clapping got 5 influence for free. There ended up only I was going hard on clapping, and it was down to me and one of Nick's friends, and thankfully I was the one that survived.
Yeah.
The clapping incident. But it also means that I also won that one because I had the most influence and there was only 1 seat.
Yep.
Okay.
Got some interesting events, like Zach couldn't touch resources. Could touch influence, but no actual resources for the rest of the game.
Yep. Else I would immediately lose. And so it was like when people like putting things out to vote, I was always, my hand was like a good foot or 2 above them just to be like, see nothing. All right, I'm by.
He could use like other things to touch them, but he could not touch them with his skin.
But I was just like, not gonna risk it.
Yep.
There was also one where it was anybody who touched their phone immediately lost, and then it was well, and they were like, do the phones do the watches count? And then they're like, well, maybe if it's
I was like, well, if yours has cellular activity, it's technically a phone.
and I just went
threw his watch across the stadium, whipped it into the distance.
Yep.
I got a card played on me where it meant I couldn't sit down anymore. I had to stand for the rest of the game. And then after like one of the event cards, I went to go sit down. I was like, oh, fuck, I almost sat down. Like legitimately forgot I needed to stand for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the game I won, by the way.
Oh.
The second game, me and one of Nick's friends won.
Yes.
Because we had the most influence, and we ended up having 50-something resources that we somehow
like
won.
51.
Yeah.
It was right on the fucking limit.
Yeah.
We didn't get any of the real horseshit auto win stuff, though.
No one went to tech heaven. No one found the singularity or went to actual heaven or any of that stuff, unfortunately.
Raptured.
No rapture.
Oh, we did have anarchy, which was at the beginning of every round, everyone had to swap their factions.
And it's funny is that people were doing it randomly, and Nick had his right in front of him it was the you could steal an influence for free. And then I had the 2 influence for one thing. So it was just every turn I was just like, so I just kept swapping those just to make sure I could always get the most influence as possible. And that's how I ended up tying to help win on that second game. Because I was just like, if we're switching, people just randomly doing whatever. So I just made sure me and Nick just kept switching so that I could keep getting those.
Yeah.
Wild.
And if anybody tried to go for mine, I would just be like, nope, I already switched.
We had a couple press meetings. We had press with Funko Games. We got to talk with Mark. We talked about E.T. We talked about Thunder Mountain, the Goofy movie board game. They had the voice actors from the Goofy movie at the convention. That was their hot new release of the convention.
Oh, geez.
Also, Rear Window, which does seem legitimately interesting.
Okay.
It's kind of like a Mysterium Obscurio type thing, where there's kind of like a GM that kind of knows what's happening, that's giving hints to things. Rear Window being the famous mid-50s Hitchcock movie.
Yep.
Okay.
And basically everybody else is Jimmy Stewart. And you're looking at these...
Or different characters from the movie. But
yeah.
It is also randomly cooperative or competitive, and you don't know.
Unless you are the GM person.
Yes.
It's basically whether or not there's a murder.
Yes, because there could be not a murder, and you're just all entirely cooperative for the whole thing, or there could be not a murder, where it is then actually competitive.
That there is a murder.
Yeah.
You said not a murder.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes. Not a murder, cooperative, murder, competitive.
And so if there is a murder, they want everybody to get every other room except for the room that the murder happened in.
Yes.
And so seems like it could be interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another one of those kind of games.
Gotcha.
We talked about Jurassic World, Isla Nublar or whatever, the Legacy Jurassic Park game. They had the copies there. They were demoing it there.
I knew nothing about this. I don't remember. Did we talk
yes,
about it?
we talked about it.
absolutely.
Yeah, we talked about it.
That was a Kickstarter for a Jurassic Park Legacy game. You're like building the park.
Oh, I think I do vaguely remember.
Yeah.
Basically, it takes place between Jurassic Park 3 and Jurassic World.
Yes, where they're building up to the actual
Right, where they're
Jurassic.
destroying the franchise for good.
Well, yeah, kind of, but in a writer's room. We got a bunch of games from them. We got the Goonies, E.T., Thunder Mountain, Goofy Movie, and the Goonies expansion, and Rear Window.
Yep.
I was able to bring back Rear Window and the Goonies. The Goonies seems interesting. It's like a one verse.
What'd you do with the ones you couldn't bring back?
They are currently in my mom's closet.
Ah,
Yeah, because they wouldn't fit in the bag.
And I didn't have a bag for
Yeah.
that.
gotcha.
I had enough. I was planning on buying 3 games, and I had enough room for that. And I was not planning on getting a bunch of stuff. So, yeah.
The Goonies seemed interesting. It's kind of like a one verse all. There's like a GM in there that's kind of like guiding things around.
Okay.
Seems neat. I would play it. We had a press meeting with the Heroes of Barcadia folks.
Rollacrit?
Rollacrit. They're also like the merch folks of Gencon. They make all the t-shirts and stuff. This is the one where your pint glass is your health bar of your hero.
Yeah, less fucky.
Less fucky Munchkin
Yeah.
is kind of how I played it or saw it.
Described it.
Yeah. You all start in the center. You have like a individual player power that's like mine. I never used because someone has to die for me to be able to use it,
Oh.
which is like trade a power from yourself with another one that's dropped on the board. So I can just kind of like swap powers with people that have dropped them.
Mine was I had to be at 20% health, 20 health or less, which didn't happen. So.
Yeah. And basically you're just kind of like building a board at random. It's one of those like build the dungeon and everyone's just kind of like laying down hexes. You can't actually see what they are,
Okay.
but everyone gets an equal amount of hexes and you can kind of just build it however the fuck you want.
Okay.
And then you just move and it's like, is it a monster? Roll a d20, add your power. Is it more than whatever the power is? Cool. You win and get a loot card, which is your action card, one-off fucky Munchkin card, or you get a
Power up.
which is like a weapon or boots equipment, basically.
Sure.
And it gives you pluses to your d20 for bosses or for regular minions. But when you fight a boss, you actually have to choose another player to roll as that boss. So if they have anything with plus boss stuff, they actually get to use that against you when you roll that. So you would want to choose someone that doesn't have any plus boss equipment.
Yep.
But the plus boss equipment's like +3, +5, not plus 25 or 30 or whatever epic horseshit that Munchkin would land into.
Yeah. And then, but then whoever won that fight won the boss fight. So you didn't want to choose somebody. Like you could choose someone who's ahead in case you beat them, in which case you knock them down some because they would take the damage. But if they win, you're helping them. So it was like trying to figure out like.
And taking damage is drinking your beer
Mm-hmm.
because it has all the health bars on the beer.
Yep, on the
or
glasses.
just other liquid. It doesn't have to be beer.
It does
Just-
not.
just an
They
FYI.
do say specifically it does not. And they
Yeah.
also do recommend if you're planning on drinking during this game,
Have
just have a drink off to the side because you're not always going to drink from your glass that's out there.
Yeah.
Sure.
And they actually do sell like straws. So then and technically any drink could just become
A health bar.
a health bar.
Because it's on the straw.
Yeah.
instead
That's
of-
right. Yeah. I think I remember that from the Kickstarter
Yeah.
or whatever.
Everything's waterproof. They all felt really good.
Okay.
They also said that maybe they won't make the cards waterproof in a later edition and just make like the dungeon waterproof because the cards shouldn't really be around there unless there's like major spill.
Right.
But the dungeon tiles would be waterproof, of course, because
Yeah.
you're using them as literally coasters.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
But basically, you want to get 3 powers, and then when you flip over the like trove, because like you want to find the boss, because the boss you're having a big party, and then the evil boss stole all the drinks, so you got to go in the dungeon, defeat the boss, find the drink hoard, bring it back.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's basically first to defeat the boss and then to the drink hoard.
Mhm.
Okay. once anyone defeats the boss, is it like a race then for everybody else to the
No,
horde,
I think
or does everyone have to do
We didn't
their
get
own
a full
boss?
game, so I don't
No.
know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Heroes of Arcadia. We had just a like open invitation to Breaking Games, which we talked with one of the designers. We talked about Dwellings of Everdale. That is a sort of like hero adventure type game with cool minis, but also cool minis that can go on speakers. So like literally when you put the mini down, it makes noises.
Yeah.
Like as you move the mini, it's making little roary sounds and stuff.
Okay.
And then each one of those speakers goes to like 2 different monsters. So there's like 2 different in each.
Okay.
But that's just in the legendary edition.
Yeah, that's
of
in
it.
a big ultra super ultra mega fancy version.
Gotcha.
So you don't have to. You're not spending money on that unless you want to.
Yeah.
Sure.
But there is minis in there. But there is also standees. Seemed like a interesting kind of adventure fight things type game.
Okay.
And then Looking for Troubles, which was the most aggressive, non-IP infringing sci-fi game I have ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
What was it?
So everything in the game is sci-fi themed. You're going around to different planets and gaining different like victory point stuff.
You have different ships. You have different characters you see that are all
Vaguely IP infringing, but not enough. There was Doc Oker, not Doc Brown. There was the all of the ships are basically like one was like the Futurama ship, the Planet Express
Delivery Express. Yeah.
Planet Express, yeah.
Planet Express delivery. There is of course like Star Trek was in there. The Guardians of the Galaxy ship was in there. And they added this whole companion expansion that was like every sci-fi movie ever. There was a guy named Ron, but it was no, maybe it was Rod, but it was Rowdy Roddy Piper from They Live.
Oh,
Stuff like that.
And it looks like it's like a family weight worker placement
gotcha.
sort of thing. So it seemed like it'd be a good intro for that.
Yeah, and so
Also, you could clearly see, and he did confess to his favorite color being orange because it's
very colorful, very orange
Yes.
primary
Yeah.
for the game.
Great.
And it seemed like the expansion added a little more complexity into it, but it seemed neat. We had a press point with Wise Wizard of Star Realms fame. We chit-chatted about Robot Quest Arena and then got a full fucking game of Robot Quest Arena.
in like 20 minutes.
like not even fucking 20 minutes. We fucking pounded each other through that game.
Yeah.
It seems like a pretty light deck builder with some robot movement. There is not robot. It would not be robot programming, but it would be robot spending resources to move and push and attack in the right order to do the most efficient turn. And each of the robots had their own unique power. Like mine could spawn in the middle, and when I spawned in the middle, I got a victory point. And you got points for taking everyone's health. And the end game was when you killed like 5 robots.
Okay.
Because you respawn every time. So basically the last health was always a blue cube, and then a blue cube would come out of the pool and go back onto your sheet when you would respawn. Hence, basically the turn timer. Killing each other is the turn timer.
Gotcha.
That was a fun one. We got to see Rise of Empire there. They had their prototype, which is the Legacy Star Realms.
Yeah.
We didn't demo it or anything like that, but the promos that I got are basically like a bunch of cards from the game for the new factions and stuff. It looks cool. They were explaining like why they originally weren't going to do the like reset like card version of it. They were just going to do the stickers, and then everyone was like, "But what about a resettable version?" And they were like, "Fuck, I guess we got to do 180 cards for every permutation of everything that can be legacied in this game."
Yep. And then they were surprised at how many people actually wanted that.
Which I believe is the extreme majority of them.
Fucking crazy. I can't imagine. Like, I don't know.
That's why game designers are nuts. Our last press event, I believe, was with Hachette Games. They're the Nidavellir, Turing Machine, Northgard. We had a nice press point with Danielle there.
Yep.
She showed us off a bunch of really cool games. One that is called Link 2, which is like a trivia. I don't know, a trivia.
Is a trivia
bar trivia night simulator almost without the bar. You get a set of cards like 1 through 14, and there's 50 different permutations of the trivia.
I think she said in the base, like in the full thing, it's like you get numbers 1 through 50 or something.
Yeah. So it's a in our little quick demo, it was like we had 14 questions that would we had 13 questions that would line up to the numbers 1 through 14. And it was questions like, how many golf clubs are in a golf bag?
How many Deathly Hallows were in Harry Potter?
And every time you're answering one of these, that number is going on whatever number you're answering. So I was like, golf clubs in a golf bag, is that 12? And then she put it down on 12. But then we had something else come up that was clearly 12. So we had to pull up from that one and think about where that one should have gone.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And like Deathly Hallows, I was like 7, and she's like, "That's Horcruxes."
Yeah.
And I was
then
like,
she asked
Fuck.
it again, and it's like, oh, like we kept
3.
getting,
It's 3 because it's the triangle, the
It
circle.
only
and
took like the 4th or 5th try for us to remember that that's what they were.
what the fuck a Deathly Hallow was. We played another. We got a little overview of the Galileo project, which is the sequel to the
Ganymede
project, which was kind of like a there's 2 different reputation tracks, and you're recruiting like
and building robots and
and you're sending them to the planets and moving your robots around, moving your reputation around to try and get these different factions up of your choice, but you can change factions. It'll look neat. Explain some of the Nidavellir expansions. There's 2 of those.
I think one is already out.
Yes.
And then the it just got released, and there'll be a new one at the end of the.
It's basically the expansion of like adds more, adds new.
Yeah.
Okay.
The second to last one we played was Oh Really, where it's more of a conversation game.
Okay.
Where it's these 5 cards, and each of your you play it with friends as like a getting to know you game.
Sort of like an icebreaker thing.
Yeah, and you have to rank from 1 to 5 what you think their interests are. So it was like first dates, board games, amateur wrestling. What were the other 2?
Loud talkers.
And
then there's a 5th one. I don't remember.
Yeah.
What it was.
So you get like 5 things, you rank them like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And then you have like, oh, I know this one. Of course, board games we ranked as number 1 because we were like, well, we're talking with
because basically she was the one like
we were trying to figure out about her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just from our chit chats, and we put like loud talkers least favorite because you're sitting across from a table from someone for 4 days. First dates and amateur wrestling, I just kind of coin flipped them because maybe she's really big into amateur wrestling. Maybe she's not into first dates. So I think that was like a 2-4 back and forth. And then she was like, amateur wrestling, not really into that. And I was like, go to an amateur wrestling event at a brewery. You're going to have a good fucking time.
They are weirdly fun.
Yes.
It was funny though that Jeff and I both had the exact same opinion. Like we ranked it exactly.
It's like
the
maybe
same
you're super into. Maybe
Yeah.
you hate first dates and maybe you love amateur wrestling.
Yeah.
And then we saw another game that was like Zombie Kids. It was kind of like one of those
Well, it was like Zombie Kids after it was Zombie Kids is like the franchise thing.
Yeah.
But it was sort of like a oh god. What's that Seventh Continent-esque? Like looking at cards and then like getting more
It's all
information.
about perspective.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like an undo or an exit, but you are like you start with a card and there's a bunch of numbers, and when you go to that number, it's the perspective of whatever was at that number. So these are a bunch of kids defending their school from zombies, and you have like a mission card of be like, how did the zombies get into the school? And you can't really learn that from here. So you go to the perspective of the zombie getting pushed down on the slide. And then from the perspective of the zombie card, you can see a zombie flying through the air. And then you can go to the perspective of the zombie flying through the air. And then you're just trying to kind of go through all of... Every number is a different like vision point of some other character in the game.
Yeah, it is like kid oriented for that style of game. But it definitely seems like something that one is very easy to expand on. And then it seems like you could, with some tweaks, make it like a good adult styled version of that game.
It was an interesting way to do that, where it's all about perspective, and then you're just going into all of those different perspectives.
I am imagining something similar to at the end of the game, it gives, like you said, it gives a bunch of questions that you have to answer. But I'm just reminded of the only time I played Sherlock Holmes to completion on one of the missions or cases. The second question, it was like, "Oh, and what do you think about this person? What do you think they did?" And we're like, "We have no idea who
the
that
fuck is that?
We have no idea who this person is." And then there were like 5 follow-up questions, and we're like, we did not do good at this at all. And then it turns out that's when we found out we could talk to the person that was accused of the crime, which we should have done.
Yeah, maybe you should have done that.
Yeah.
He's in jail. We don't need to talk to him.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not important.
Yeah. I think that covers most of the games we got to personally get seen.
Demo and meet and all that.
General things we saw, Clank Catacombs. They had it there. It looks great. It's just kind of like a tile-based Clank. But it's more of a top-down, like you're not going underground, really. You're just kind of like in a giant graveyard that you're kind of spreading out. It has a lot more like portals to be able to jump around places, and a little bit more balancing changes to not just be able to like grab the closest thing and get the fuck out of there.
Okay.
They've also changed like points values on a lot of the artifacts to make it a little bit more less fucky, and like a much smaller distance between like the 5 and the 25.
Okay.
They got rid of the 30 basically. The Dune expansion was just in a case there. It looks neat.
Mm-hmm.
We got to look at Skyrise, which Zach had backed.
Looks cool. Looks good.
It's the one where you're building the different like sized buildings and stuff from the was that Radlands and
yeah, it's Roxley Games.
Roxley, yes. They had a fuckload of Radlands there, that's for sure.
I played Radlands not too long ago.
They were
It's
also
fine.
at a corner of a booth, the like corner of an area where they really shouldn't have been because it was far too busy for like.
It was near like an entrance, so everyone was like turning left into the convention center, like just like right
They
there.
kept clogging up that area.
Yeah. Stellaris was there. They were doing Stellaris demos. That is from the Academy Games folks.
Forgot there was a Stellaris board game coming out.
So they had that there.
Looked nice.
It looked nice, like the little boards that you would then like shut your civilization down in and can bring back for a future one. Looked quite neat. Risk. Hey, does anyone remember Risk Shadow Forces?
Nope.
Which was on Hasbro Pulse like over a year ago.
Nope. Sure don't.
That released at Gen Con. That's Risk Legacy 2, basically.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, that's there. Avalon Hill had a bunch of stuff there, of course.
They also talked about a Betrayal 3rd expansion called Blood of the Moon, which added a new character who it also added like 5 new hunts, but it was a new character that was a werewolf that was human before the hunt, but then they turn into a werewolf after, and they can either become like good or bad depending on some shit. So, interesting.
Yeah, they had like a huge light up werewolf. I don't know. It looked like a cover of one of those like the D&D books, but they're like the art covers.
Yeah, like
you know,
like that guy over there. Yeah.
It kind of looks like that.
Okay.
Is that it?
That's about it. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Came back on Sunday to Chicago, got some more Cheval. I'll tell you this, the bone marrow that they have there,
So fucking good.
it's good, but boy, is it a lot easier when it's with 3 people versus 2, because 2 of those, I was like, this is all so rich and fatty and salty.
Oh, I had no problem with 2 people. I love Morrow. Oh, man.
Well, and then I had the burger with the bacon and the egg, and I was like, this is so rich and fatty and salty that I was like 2/3. I was like, it's too much. I think last time having that chicken in between, that was more acidic and lighter, like helped cut that between. It was just too much of a salty, rich.
Got to get the right kind of good red wine to like.
I mean,
balance
I also do at least think it was at least partially due to the fact that I was just like, I've spent more than I wanted to, so I just had water. So
Fair.
If I'd had an alcohol, that probably also would have helped. So
Fair enough.
something to help cut, but still very good, but also a lot.
Yeah. That's, I think, it.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. We had some news items we were going to talk about, but this is already over 2 hours, so I think we're going to save those for next episode.
Yeah.
We also had a listener feedback. Mark, we did get your email. We will talk about it next week because we'll be looking to not Mark, Brad. Brad, we got your email. We'll talk about it next episode. Gotta pad that next episode.
Mm-hmm.
That's everything.
Yes, it is.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
You can find us over on Twitter, where I tweet under at MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
I am Jeff_MHGG.
We also have our Slack channel, which you can find a link to in the show notes on your podcast app of choice. If your podcast app of choice does not show show notes with clickable links, get a new app because that one sucks.
It's 2022.
Yeah. Your podcast apps should give you clickable links in the descriptions and show notes. But yeah, join the Slack channel because there's a bunch of people and it's a bunch of fun.
Yep.
And that's where we spend like 80% of our time interacting with friends and fans.
We did meet up with Wes, other Wes, and had lunch or dinner with him and his wife. That was a lot of fun.
Yep.
Cool.
I saw on Gabris, if you know who he is, but I didn't say anything.
Huh?
John Gabris. You probably don't.
I do not know who that is.
Yeah, he's been on some dropout shit, but
Gotcha.
yeah, he's a comedian.
I weirdly ran into like Tom Vassell like twice of like 1 degree of separation. We went to the Panda Cult booth where we got a demo and was chatting with my friend of a friend who runs that whole thing that Tom Vassell then went and talked to. And then I also saw Matt, who used to work for Gray Fox, that now works for Quartermaster, was chit-chatting with him, just ran into him in the middle of one of the walkways. And then Tom Vassell went and talked to his boss, like literally right next to me. I was like, boy, I sure have seen a lot of Tom Vassell talking to the same people I'm talking to this convention.
Yeah. The last time I went to Gen Con, I had that like constantly with Mandy Hutchinson and the other woman who does the board game breakfast with her, or used to.
Suzanne?
Yeah. Same thing. It was like just constantly kept like running into them. Like,
Yeah.
Although that was one where I kept interacting with them. It was like, oh, hey, it's good seeing you again. We got introduced like fucking 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
cool.
And then Wes ran into him because he demoed him a game or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think I had 3 on there.
There you go.
Yeah. We're big shit. We've been doing this 6 years.
We're shit adjacent.
Yes.
That's gonna
Sounds
be
a toilet.
Yeah, that's gonna be it for this episode. Thanks to everybody for tuning in to the Gen Con Spectacular minus Adrian. As always, I've been your host, Adrian.
I'm still Zach.
And I'm Sleepy Jeff.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.